eyes tonight. Think about from without. The nations of the world have now officially begun to declare their hatred for America, their hatred for our way of life, their hatred for capitalism and all that goes with it. If you don't believe that, you need to open your eyes and get some of the writings of what men have written who are Muslims and Islamists. They hate everything that we are and everything we stand for. There are people all over this world who believe that America is the great Satan and that Israel is the little Satan, and that their religious beliefs system through jihad, the inner struggle of life through jihad, they call for the fact that they must fight in order to bring America and Israel down, or else they'll fail in their walk with their false God. Understand that the nations of the world hate us with a venomous hatred. Ever since 1979, the radical Islamists and Muslims gather together in Tehran, in the town square, and hundreds of thousands of young Muslims stand together November 7th every year and gather together with what they call Death to America Day. They chant loudly, "Death to America, death to America, death to Israel, death to the great Satan." And all day long they pray and call upon Allah and his prophet Muhammad to destroy the great Satan and give them courage in their jihad and holy war. Now, with venomous hatred, Mr. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who is the president of the Islamic Republic of Iran, stands before all the world with his stated goal and with his vow that he will destroy America, that he will attack Israel as soon as they receive nuclear capability. And we, with our heads in the sand, say they won't really do that. They wouldn't actually do that. And we, through our false diplomacy, continue to give them time to work on nuclear capability and nuclear weapons. Understand this, friends. I'm glad that Mr. Netanyahu has already resolved. He knows what he's going to do. Say amen to that. He knows what he stands for. And last year he stood before the joint sessions of the Congress and Senate and stood up and made a clear declaration that he knows that the times are at hand and that things are shaking and that God is shaking this world. And he made it very clear that he will not bow down to Islamic terror and will not bow down to Islamic fanaticism, but will stand. But understand, from without there are those who hate us with a venomous hatred. A few years ago, my wife Susan said, "Honey, do you think the Iraqis are going to attack us? Do you think the Muslims are coming here and going to attack us?" I said, "Honey, we live in Tennessee. There's more rednecks per square mile in Tennessee than anywhere on the planet. Amen? There's more guns in Rutherford County where I live than anywhere you can think of. I know men who are praying for an Islamic invasion. Amen. They can't wait for such an event. And they got their guns loaded and their stuff ready. Their children are wearing Kevlar vests to bed, and they hope such a thing would occur. Why? No, I don't think they're going to attack us from without. I don't think they need to attack us from without, because the world learned through Pearl Harbor, and the world learned again through 9/11, that when you attack America, Americans band together and they unite and they stand. We still have the greatest military machine on planet Earth. Somebody say amen right there. I've had people say, "Well, Brother Rossi, you know, we're outnumbered." Yes, we are, brother. We're outnumbered by some other nations that have a larger standing army, but nobody messes with the American army. When they come in, they do business. Somebody say amen. I've been to Fort Benning. I've been down in the 6th Battalion Ranger Base and personal friends with the colonel there. I've been on many of the nation's bases and prayed with the Marine Corps and other men of God. And I'm telling you this, friends, we're not only armed, but we're ready. Say amen to that. The world knows that they can't mess with Americans' military. Instead, the world knows this: they don't have to bring us down by force. Our greatest enemy is not from without. Our greatest enemy is from within. Some of you know that in October 12th of 1960, Mr. Nikita Khrushchev stood before the UN General Assembly. He dropped a shoe off the pulpit and said, "America, like this shoe, will drop. We will destroy America without ever firing a shot." They said they'll load America up with drugs and bad music and moral promiscuity and loose living and alcohol. And that is exactly what is happening to America tonight. We're not being destroyed by those who are without and the sword. We are being destroyed by the pestilence and famine of sin from within. I think about the destroyers of America. Can I give you a few tonight before we go back home? Good. I'll give them to you anyway. All right, number one, think about this, please. The destroyers of America. Number one, the liberal media. I'm talking about the media. You say, yes, sir, brother, CNN. I'm not talking about the news media. I am talking about media of every kind. Whether it's television, whether it's the internet, whether it's entertainment, whether it's news. I'm talking about the fact that we have become media maniacs, and a little bit at a time, the media has changed our thinking, changed our mindset, and changed our way of life. The liberal media, 80% of the media attend no church at all of any kind whatsoever. 47% of the media favor socialism as a form of government and way of life. 93% of the media favor gay and lesbian teachers and gay and lesbian marriages. I don't know about you. I don't want an abominable reprobate. I don't want them teaching my children. Say amen to that. So, but the media says that's what they want. 90% of the media approve of abortion on demand. Abortion was murder, it is murder, and it will be murder until the day of Christ's appearing. It will always be murder. Do I have an amen to that? God said to Jeremiah, before thou wast in the womb, I knew thee, and sanctified thee a prophet unto the nations. A few months ago, our daughter called, Dad, guess what? I'm going to have a baby. That little tiny life inside of her womb was a full-blown, fully formed human being. It just needs to grow and get bigger and come out. But I'm saying tonight that we have decided to kill more than 55 million unborn children in America. That's the greatest Holocaust of all. Say amen. But the media said that's fine, and it doesn't matter because we approve of abortion on demand. The movie mindset, the television mindset, the newscasters, they're against God, they're against church, they're against righteous government, they're against everything that's good and holy and righteous and pure. Isaiah 5:20, the Bible said, woe unto them that call good evil and evil good, that put darkness for light and light for darkness. And a little bit at a time, we've not only accepted violence and filthiness and adultery and pornography and ungodliness and murder and all that goes along with it, and drunkenness and loose living. We not only have accepted these as an acceptable form of life, we laugh at them and make these things entertainment. And a little bit at a time, the media, the liberal media, has changed our thinking. I don't know about you, brother, but I grew up with Leave It to Beaver. Amen. I remember little Beaver would come home from school. He'd be in trouble with his mom. His mom would never get mad. Mrs. Cleaver, Miss June Cleaver, was always standing at the sink. She was doing dishes. She never had a dishwasher. They didn't have them in those days. Amen. How do you remember pre-dishwasher days? Somebody said, you have a dishwasher? Yes, sir. I married one. Amen. And I mean, Mrs. Cleaver would be standing at the sink doing her dishes. Her hair was always neat and tidy. Her dress was always nice. Her house was always clean. It was never a wreck. Little Theodore would come into the home, and she would say, Theodore, the school called today. Beaver, you're in trouble at school today. The teacher called. She'd never lose it. She'd never scream and holler. She'd never say, you did what, boy? Go to your room and yell and holler. Little Beaver would never talk back to his mom. He'd say, I'm sorry, Mom. And go up to your room, Theodore. He'd go up to his room, and upstairs would be Wally waiting for him. And so now we're going to have a moment of Wally wisdom. Amen. Wally was 15 years old, dumber than a box of rocks. Amen. And by the way, that's what most teenagers are. I need an amen. Some of you are so afraid, unless your kid's here, you go ahead and say amen. I mean, oh, Dad, you don't understand what it's like to be a teenager. I've heard that. My son said, Dad, you don't understand what it's like to be a teenager. I said, you're right. I hatched and I was suddenly 40 years old. Never experienced teen years. Don't know a thing about it. How right you are.